Okay. Okay. So, thank you everyone for being here. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Kevin Cohen. I'm one of the founders of VetRec. I'm the CEO. And today I'm excited to chat about the AI Receptionist, which is the new product that we've launched over the past weeks, month. And I'm excited to see how we can help you guys if interested at the end of the webinar. So, as some of you may know, if you already know VetRec, VetRec started 3 years ago out of the need to help veterinarians, technicians, veterinary professionals with their medical records. And so we started as an AI scribe that can help medical records get generated automatically after a consult. We expanded that a little bit more. We sort of rebranded ourselves as an AI assistant, and we started helping with other flows like discharges, care plans, summarization of the past medical history. We even added the ability for veterinarians and veterinary professionals to place calls to clients and then have that be recorded and get medical records or com logs automatically generated, integrating into several PIMs. And so everything was like, if you think about VetRec up until today, was really focused on the back of the house, if you will, right? What happens in the back house of the clinic, particularly on the medical side of the house and medical records and all of those workflows that can assist the veterinary professionals. As we look into the future of VetRec and how we want to help really the clinic as a whole and the end-to-end experience, like we like to call it, for when a pet owner and pet come into the clinic up until they leave the clinic, we wanted to think more holistically. What are sort of the areas where we can actually help that are not only on the medical side of the house with the medical records? And so, that lets us to, of course, do some research, talk to lots of existing customers and, even new customers. And we landed on this idea of, hey, we've sort of been very good at helping the back of the house, the veterinary professionals with the medical records. Why don't we get into the front of the house and sort of capture that full holistic experience of when the client comes in? And that led us to create this product that we're calling the AI Receptionist. Now, the AI Receptionist in and of itself, what I'm going to show you today is, basically what we have up until today, right? Which is pretty robust. Lots of clinics are already using and paying for the service. But really what we want to try to get at is how can we build this AI native communications platform where essentially every time one of your clients is trying to get a hold of the clinic, whether by text, whether by online booking, whether by a website chatbot, or by calling the clinic, how can we be there to answer the questions, capture information, gather the data, help with the workflows of what it takes to do intake, what it takes to get someone through the door. And maybe even, of course, in the future, how can we also help with outbound measures and outbound workflows, right? Like, can we also help with refills, with reminders, with marketing conversions of how you can, capture those client satisfaction after they're in the clinic and after they went through a visit. And so holistically, it makes really sense for us to be able to participate into the front of the house and the back of the house. I think we've got our name and our trust from lots of customers when it comes to VetRec Scribe, if you will. And now we're venturing into how we can help the clinic as a whole and be part of that experience with the pet parent by getting into the AI Receptionist. So that's, again, I always like to start by framing like why are we doing this and sort of like where we are in our journey as a company and as a multi-product company, if you will, and paint the picture before I dive into the actual product so that you guys can see it. So the AI Receptionist is fairly simple. I mean, it's very complex, but it's fairly simple when you compare it to like the AI Scribe, right? The AI Scribe is something that is constantly being used by lots of veterinarians, lots of veterinary technicians. You're talking about templates, you're talking about different styles, different ways of how you're actually writing that medical record, the integration with PIMs. Like there's a lot of clicks, there's a lot of interaction that a user spends with the VetRec Scribe. The AI Receptionist actually is the complete opposite. We built a dashboard that you're seeing here, which I'm going to go into full detail here, right? But this dashboard is mainly for monitoring what's going on, if any, and just sort of like taking a look at what has the AI agent sort of like flagged for review, and what are the actions that the agent has taken. And also a way for you to configure how do you want the agent to act? What do you want to say? How do you want it to talk? What accent do you want? Do you want it to be fast? Do you want it to be slow? Sort of like that training piece to teach the agent how it should actually perform the actions that it should do for your particular hospital. But really, the magic of the AI receptionist is really like self-serve, if you will. The magic happens because we give a phone number to a clinic, and that phone number is essentially attached to an agent. And the use of this product is not by someone, clicking record and generating the medical record and transferring. It's just by, forwarding calls from your clinic to the AI agent, the phone number that we're going to give you. And I'll share a little bit about how that onboarding goes. But essentially just painting the picture about how the AI receptionist in and of itself is a much more self-serve product, where yes, you have this dashboard that you can see what are the things that are happening, but truly the magic just happens on the agent itself, how it responds, how it books appointments, how it handles refill medications, and all of those things, which just happen automatically, right? Because it's an AI that is talking to the client. And so to give some details about how the dashboard works and how the agent works, I'm going to first go through the platform itself, just so that you see what are some of the capabilities that exist. And then we're actually going to do a demo. Krista, you'll let me know if you guys can actually hear the conversation that I'll have. But essentially just chat with the agent on a test account that I have, and you will see how it integrates with an EasyVet instance that we have, so that you can see how the integration works as well for that particular PIMS, although we integrate with other PIMS, of course. And you can see the full end-to-end. So we'll get started with the dashboard. I do want to try to make some time at the end for Q&A. So I probably won't go into every single button and details that you see here, but I'll try to be as extensive as I can. So the first thing that you see when you log in to the platform. Oh, and by the way, something I should mention is that if you have a VetRec account, you automatically can log into the receptionist. You need to set it up with us, right? But it's like the same login, right? If you already have a VetRec login, you can use that for the receptionist. However, alternatively, one of the things that we always say is that I don't know if there's people in the audience here that are not a VetRec Scribe customer. That is totally fine. You don't need to be a VetRec Scribe customer in order for you to be a VetRec Receptionist customer, and vice versa, right? These are products that are like sold separately, if you will. And so there's no need to buy one to get the other one. It's completely separate. But like I said, if you already have an account in one, it can work with the other one. So again, you have the dashboard view here, and this sort of like only paints like a very high level overview. Again, just some total calls that the agent has received, average duration, whether the agent was able to handle it or whether the agent was not able to handle calls, and we'll see what that means. You get a very robust set of analytics when it comes to why are clients calling. We've heard from multiple people that we've talked to that, there's some VoIP systems and some phone systems that, are giving sort of this analytics. Some of them even charge for this extra, for people to understand like why are people coming in. But we believe that we're doing a much better job because of the model classification that we're basically using behind the scenes to really understand the root cause of like what happened and why people are calling in, and even sort of like what are the questions that people are asking, which I'll share that in a second. And so you can see, again, this is all like test data from my account. You can see that some calls the agent was able to help, some calls it was just about receiving a message, some were like transferred, some, tried to do a scheduling appointment, but the agent actually could not help. And then you can actually understand like why not, right? And what actually happened. So this one, for example, was not booked. So that makes sense. Again, sort of like analytics funnel for you to understand several different types of information about how the agent is working, what are some of the capabilities that are happening, and display that in a very easy to understand way. One of the things that I always spend a little bit of time on is this little widget here that we created. We talked to a lot of customers, and a lot of them were, very surprised by this widget, because not only are we telling them when someone is booking an appointment and when the agent is actually booking that appointment, but we're actually letting them know the times that a client requested to book an appointment at a specific date and time, and the agent was not able to book it. Now, it could have been because there was an issue with the agent and it could not have been booked. And if you click on it, you can actually see some of the reasons. But it could also be that, for example, the clinic that you have is closed on Thursdays. And for some reason, all of your demographic is actually trying to book meetings book appointments on Thursdays. And so that's like a level of intelligence that I'm not saying that you now need to open on Thursdays. There might be very specific reasons about why you do that, but it does give you this deeper level of intelligence of, okay, what is the behavior of my clients, and like what is it that they really want, and how can I, as a clinic owner, practice manager, medical director, like how can I service the clients better by meeting them where they are, right? And that's sort of like the intelligence, the framing that we want to do here by having that agent talk to them and have this robust set of analytics classify a lot of the things that are happening. Like I said, the AI Receptionist, there's nothing that anyone needs to do other than training the agent, which we'll talk about in a second. But you don't need to actually go into the dashboard. The dashboard is more of like a monitoring tool, right? But because we've spent some time on it, I do want to touch base on it, which is, I gave you a list of like all the analytics and all of the overview of like how many calls have happened. But what if you actually want to listen to every single call that have come in? What if you want to understand, only the calls that have been about scheduling? Okay, then you have a very easy way to filter those versus just like listening to every single call that have come in the next morning and figure out what is it that happened. And so you get like a very easy classification on all the different calls that you got. And you can actually inspect it in a way that it gives way more details. So for example, the client and the patient, we pulled that from whatever PIMS you have that we integrate with. We give a quick summary of it. We tell you whether an appointment was created or not. This was about scheduling, but it doesn't have to be about scheduling. It can be about anything else. It could be just that they wanted to know if, the clinic is open after 7 p.m. That was the call. We also tell you the client sentiment. And I think that one is like pretty important that some of our customers have really liked, because we also give them like a report at the end of the month that sort of like tells them like, hey, your clients are happy or your clients are not happy when they call you, right? It could be because of the AI or it could be not because of the AI. But you sort of, again, understand what are the client behaviors, what are the client patterns that can then, make you more, I guess, like closer to your clients and meet them where they are. And so again, you sort of like get this like understanding. You have the full transcript as well, in addition to a quick call summary, which, by the way, we also export automatically to the com log section of your PIMS. So that, for example, you had this call and a client is coming in the next day on the patient chart, the client chart, the patient chart of that particular person that called, you will actually see that summary or the full transcript, if you want it, automatically be exported there for your audit and compliance point of view, so that if someone opens up your PIMS and they open up their patient chart, they can see already the comms log that happened with the AI Receptionist. And again, all of that happens automatically. No one needs to like copy paste anything. You also have the full recording. If you're one of those people that want to listen to every single call, you can absolutely do it. That's your data. It's your call. You can do whatever you want with it. And I always like to mention here, you can, you see that, everything is in English, of course, but the agent is multilingual. If you start talking in Spanish, the agent will actually respond in Spanish. If you speak in Portuguese, the agent will respond in Portuguese. There's of course a set of languages that we support. We don't support all the languages of the world, but we support the most common ones. And of course, if there's a need for specific languages that you would want based on your demographics, we can always talk about that. But it's actually pretty cool to see when someone calls in a different language and it responds, how it actually can even like book an appointment in like a completely different language, right? It's actually super cool. So a couple of other stuff that I wanted to mention here is, you'll see that, again, we classify a lot of the calls, right? And so a lot of the calls normally are like, scheduling, information about the clinic, maybe even transferring to an emergency or transferring to a human receptionist because they want to just talk about specific things. A lot of the times is prescription refills. And you guys know this way better than me. Because prescription refills is such an important piece, we've actually been like creating workflows to make those experiences for the techs, the CSRs, the people that are in the hospital, do them easily, right? And so what do I mean by that? We created sort of this task view that you can think of it like as a to-do list of sorts for humans in the clinic to actually take care of things that the agent was not able to do, right? Like, for example, here is just an example. Someone was trying to book an appointment, but the appointment was actually not booked for some reason. So, hey, why don't you just give the call to the client and try to actually convert that, right? Or, hey, there was a message that was left for a particular person. Go ahead and read that message, or show the call context, or go to the recording, right? Here's sort of like the to-dos that the agent was not able to do. Like, if the agent was able to book an appointment already, we don't show it up here, right? That's considered like done. Well, similarly, what I was talking before, prescription refills is a very important one. And we believe that in order for you to be more efficient with this, we don't want you to go and listen to every single call that happened the day after. Let's say someone called after hours, because this can be turned on after hours and actually service your clients when the clinic is closed. And so let's say that someone called in and they do this prescription refills. Yeah, you can take a look at all the single voicemails, all the single calls that came in through VetRec and understand what is it that happened. But for prescription refills, because we know it's such an important one, we actually bring it up as a task as well. And so we give a couple of different details here. We tell you the drug, we tell you what was the client and the patient, we show you, of course, the call context as well. But we do something pretty cool, which is, again, and you'll see that it says EasyVet, that's just because my test account here, I'm in EasyVet, but it works in other PIMs as well. We will actually check whether this medication is in the patient chart of the patient that this client is talking about. And you can see here that if there isn't, it'll say something like, hey, there wasn't any medication that we could compare, so please verify whether this is an active medication before actually doing the request. This is obvious, but no one is going to fulfill something if it's not there, without checking, right? And it's obvious, but it saves time. It saves a couple of seconds. It saves a couple of minutes of having to do all of this lookup by just taking a look at what was the prescription refill task that the agent identified. If it is in the patient chart, we will actually say, when it expires, what was the dose, what was the refill amount, like a lot of these things that you guys store in the PIMS itself, we'll actually bring it here so that, again, it's very simple for it to be like, oh, it's not in the chart, I'll probably need to do some digging. Oh, it's in the chart, these were the dates, ting, 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 you can quickly validate, and then boom, do the prescription, right? And so again, how can we save, based on what I was telling you guys before about how VetRec helps the entire clinic and how we're already helping on the scribe side of the house, how can we do all of these automations on the front of the house, but again, continue to keep our mission of shaving seconds, shaving minutes that are very valuable for the veterinary teams when they are actually doing the work and this admin workflows essentially. So that's that in terms of the monitoring of the things that you can do. There's some other stuff in here, but I'm not going to go through all of them. It's pretty self-explanatory, and you can take a look at it later. I want to talk about the settings. The other big part of the dashboard is what I was telling before about, okay, you decide to onboard, you decide to give it a try. But Kevin, I have very specific things of how my clinic operates. I have very specific knowledge that it's very different than other clinics. And so how can you train the agent in a way that you yourself can do it? Or, of course, you can reach out to us and we can help do it for you as part of your onboarding. But it's very easy for someone to come in and sort of play with what does the agent know and what can the agent do. And so at the very first, the agent needs to know the clinic that it's servicing for, right? And this is just an example clinic, right? But you can see that it has some general information, contact, services, pricing, frequently asked questions, you name it, right? Like knowledge about the clinic. You also have hours, this clinic, when does it close? When does it open? At what time does it close? At what time does it open? What are some of the different, federal holidays for which you guys are closed? Or if there's a particular day next week that you guys are closed, then you can configure that here. How can you tell the agent as much context, as much information so that it knows what to respond to clients when clients call? Now, in addition to what it knows, you can also configure how it reacts, how it does things, how it responds. Even simple things like, do you want a female voice? Do you want a male voice? Do you want it to talk fast? Do you want it to talk slow? Do you want to give any specific dictionary on pronunciation for maybe staff or doctor or particular medications that you want to make sure that it gets pronounced certain ways? What do you want the agent to say when someone, calls, right? Like, is there a particular thing that you would want to say? Do you want to tell them that you speak Spanish? Do you want to not tell them that? What are the rules for the agent to actually be able to transfer a call in the event, for example, of an emergency? Hi, my cat is dying. What do I do? That's not something that the agent is going to start triaging there. It's going to literally just send them out to an emergency and tell them that they should go there. Where do you want us to tell them to go? Where do you want us to transfer that call? Similarly, maybe something is not urgent. Hey, I just want to talk to someone in the front desk because of something that happened to my dog. They don't want to talk to the AI. That's fair. Where do you want us to transfer that? Do you have a specific line where, the human receptionist in your team can actually go and answer this? I think this is very important that I always take a step back, which is, we're not building these AI receptionists, even though it seems like we're not building these AI receptionists so that we can go to a clinic and say, hey, by the way, fire all your CSRs. You don't need them. Just use this. Like, absolutely not. We believe that there always needs to be humans in front, first of all, because the minute someone walks in the door, they need to be greeted and they need to be taken care of. But also, there's a lot of calls that the agent will not be able to handle by design. Or maybe you don't want the agent to handle certain calls. And so if you don't have any humans in the front desk, then who are you transferring these to, right? And so we always believe that there should be some level of again, like human front desk receptionist in the clinic so that the agent can transfer in the event of not understanding what to do. And so all of these things you can configure, as well as, I'm not going to go through all of these things, but as well as what are the abilities that you want the agent to have? Do you want to be able to schedule? Do you not want to be able to schedule? Do you want to schedule only new clients, existing clients? What are sort of the questions that you want to ask new clients if they come in? Do you want to ask about their dog's name? Do you want to ask about their dog's age? Do you not want to ask about that? Like, all of these things you can configure so that it really asks and does the things that you want as if you were training someone in the front in real life, if you will. You can, of course, configure, even when you get a step further into integrating with us, the appointments, right? So the thing that we do is that we integrate with your PIMs, right? So we integrate with EasyVet, Avimar, Cornerstone, you name it. And we pull in all the different appointment types that you have. And you basically have the ability to tell the agent, hey, what is it that the agent is actually capable of doing? Can the agent book a vaccination call? Can the agent book a euthanasia call? Probably not, because that is a very nuanced discussion and probably something that you want the human touch. Again, coming back to what I was saying before about that human touch in there. And so you can literally teach the agent and be like, hey, if someone calls about this, transfer it, right? Transfer it immediately, or emergencies, or whatever it is, right? This is just a test account, but you basically instruct the agent what is it that you would want to do when someone calls. Even simple things like, and we'll take a look at this in a second when I do the demo call. I promise I'll do a demo call. It's like, I can even tell it like, hey, you have an appointment type for vaccination, but for some reason, I only want you to use this appointment type if it's for Bordetella or rabies. And it's like, okay, the agent will actually ask these questions. Like if I say that I want to do like a regular vaccine appointment, it'll probably ask me like, hey, is it rabies or is it Bordetella? And again, that's just a test, but it's just to show that the agent will understand what are the workflows, what are the things that you are really interested in per your different appointment types for it to do certain things. And even stuff like, for example, workflows, like, hey, when an appointment is booked, I want to send a message to the client. Hey, if the caller says XYZ, I want you to transfer to the reception because, that's a very specific workflow that we want to handle separately. But, before you do that, I want you to say X before transferring. Again, like very detailed, very configurable into like, what are the things that you can actually do so that the agent follows your standard operating procedures, right? Your SOPs. And here's just this particular thing for EasyVet. I'm not going to go through everything here. This changes if you have VetSpire, Avimark, Instinct, Cornerstone, all of the different other PIMs we integrate with. But essentially, like doing even more configuration about how you want the appointments to show, for example, in EasyVet. Do you want a different color? How do you want them to show up in VetSpire? Do you want it to say a different tag? Like there's a lot of different things that you can configure in terms of how it integrates with the PIMs. But there's a lot of configuration that you can do there. So now that you've seen sort of like the dashboard and the monitoring that you can do and the settings, I did want to just show you guys in real time. Hopefully the demo gods are here with me today, and you'll be able to see how it actually interacts. What does it say? Hopefully you hear it. Krista, you'll let me know if they actually hear it. And you'll see, you know, a very simple case about booking an appointment for a vaccination, how it actually puts it back in like EasyVet, for example. So let me pull that up really quickly here. Okay, need to put my password for my test EasyVet. Okay, perfect. So I am going to be calling the test phone number that I have, and I'm actually going to show you guys a couple of different things. First, I'm going to ask it like basic questions like what time does it open and what time does it close, so that you guys see that, you know, pretty much goes through the knowledge that it knows, right? I'm also going to show you that we actually are transcribing the call in real time. So you'll be able to see what I say and what the agent says in real time as the conversation is happening, so that in the event that you want to monitor it and see if something is going wrong, there's actually a feature that we're implementing where you'll be able to click a button and sort of like take over that call, so that your human receptionist can actually pick up the phone. It'll say, hey, you're about to be transferred to Kevin, who's not happy about XYZ, transferring you now. You take it, and now the conversation is completely handled off from the AI receptionist to the human. That's why we actually built that like live transcript capability, which you'll see in a second. So I've talked too much. Let me actually show what this looks like. I'm gonna make a phone call here. And Krista, when I put it in speakerphone, please let me know if you don't hear it, and we'll try to do something else. I'm calling.
Sounds good.
Thank you for calling Island Animal Hospital's AI Receptionist. This call is recorded. We also speak Spanish. How can I assist you today?
Hi, perfect. I just wanted to know until what time are you guys open today?
Open until 5 o'clock this afternoon. Is there anything else I can help with, such as scheduling an appointment, requesting a refill, or taking a message?
Yeah, no, actually, I wanted to schedule up an appointment. I went to the doctor the other day and they told me that I should come next week for a vaccination appointment for my dog. Can you help me with that, please?
Help with that. Has your dog been seen at our clinic before?
Yeah.
Is the number you're calling from the best one to reach you?
Correct. So it sort of like checks my caller ID to see if I'm an existing client.
Well, who is?
I don't know if you guys heard that, but it basically showed me who my patients are, who my pets are. This is going to be for Joey.
I have this number under Kevin. Is this you?
Correct. Validates that it's me, sort of like a security measure.
Week would work best for Joey's vaccination appointment.
Can you show me, you know, the next available that you might have? So it's going to pull up the availability.
One moment.
That you see here, and it should tell me the next available.
Availability. Thanks for your patience. Looking for availability, one moment. I didn't find any openings for Joey's vaccination appointment. I can take a message for the team so they can help arrange it.
This is exactly why you do live demos, but let me see. What about Thursday, August the 13th? Is there any openings there for a vaccination?
Check that date. What type of vaccination does Joey need? Bordetella or rabies or another vaccine?
That's the one that I had showed you guys on the settings page that I had explicitly asked for this. It's going to be a rabies vaccine. So it correctly fetched the information that I had given it that asked for these two vaccines. I don't know if you guys remember.
Availability, one moment.
But if it doesn't pull up availability right now.
I have 11:15 or 11:30 in the morning. Which one works best?
Let's do 11 a.m. So probably a blip that couldn't find the one before, but.
Joey scheduled for a rabies vaccination on Thursday, August 13th at 11 in the morning. The appointment is for Kevin Cohen. Would you like text confirmation to the number ending in 1653, email confirmation, or neither? Should I go ahead and book it?
Yeah, please go ahead and book it. I don't need any confirmation right now. Thank you so much. So it's going to take a second, and it should, again, if everything goes well.
August 13th at 11 in the morning for a rabies vaccination. Is there anything else I can help you with?
There it is. No, thank you very much. You've been of great help. Appreciate it. Goodbye. So that's like a very basic case. Again, I don't know like what didn't work when I said like the earliest availability, probably a blip there. But you can see it shows here, Joey, it says, that it was booked via an AI receptionist. If you look at the reason, that's something that we have configured for this test account. You can configure that as well. It respected the planning guides. This is just a thing for EasyVet. I don't know if you guys are an EasyVet or not. It doesn't matter. We do it with all the other PIMs, in which depending on the appointment type, it'll try to book it or it'll try to give me availability for specific appointment types. That's why it didn't tell me that on August 13th for a vaccination, like 10:30 was available, even though there is an available here, but this block is reserved for like sick consults, right? And so it only gave me the ones for that vaccination, which again, 11 a.m. was a correct one. I could have also said, hey, this is not for Joey, this is for a new puppy that I got, right? And so it would have asked different questions. Oh, it's a new puppy. Okay, so what's the breed? What's the sex? What's it? Like all of these things he would have asked so that it could register that in the PIMS and then actually go and book the appointments. Again, I'm just sharing this with EasyVet just because we have a test account and because we're very happy that we finally got the integration certified yesterday. But this works in any of the other PIMS that we integrate with as well. You saw how this was like live. Again, this was sort of like what I was showing you in terms of like live calls. You can see that already the classification is done. You can see that it was completed. The appointment was created. The client was very positive. I can play a very angry client, but I'm not going to do it in this webinar. And you can see that, it would say like negative, right? Polite, appreciative, say that you're having a great help and taking them before ending the call. That's great. It also shows what are the client questions. So I asked a couple of things. Again, you get a report of like what are the trends and analysis of like what are the questions that are being asked. Not only like why are people calling in, but why are people calling in and what are the questions that they're asking that can help inform different things of how you want to treat your clients or like empathize with your clients more. But again, sort of like a full end-to-end. We could have done a prescription, we could have done other stuff, but I think you guys get the gist of it, right? And happy to onboard each and every one of you if you're interested in after this call and talk more details. But that's just the gist of it in terms of like how it works and the back and forth. Now I wanted to show you two more things here and then open it up for Q&A. The first one is similarly to how I showed you guys that you can train with like abilities and whatnot. We understand also that a lot of people have very complicated ways for handling appointments or handling specific calls or handling triaging, right? And so you can actually train your receptionist. You can literally attach policy documents if you have, or you can discuss, hey, pricing for TPLOs, pricing for TPLO is X, right? And then it'll go and it'll now understand that so that if someone asks pricing for TPLO tomorrow, it'll go and it'll say that, right? And you can sort of like ask to confirm that whatever training whatever training it did, it knows that and sort of like flag gaps that it can be trained on, right? Like for example, you ask a question and it doesn't know the answer. It'll tell you, by the way, I don't know this answer. Do you want me to train on it? So it's like very, very interactive. And lastly, we even have the ability for you to go back to the actual call, the actual transcript, and literally go through every single line that you had here and train the agent on this particular response. Like, hey, the AI said, is this number you're calling from the voicemail to reach you? Maybe you want a different way of saying this, right? Or maybe you didn't want the agent to actually say this at all. Great. You can actually configure, of course, VetRec will always have like some guardrails put in place, right? To ensure that everything is compliant and secure. But you can really choose like the styling and like how it actually interacts with your clients by literally training it at the message level if you want. That's pretty cool. And so lastly, the last thing that I want to show you is actually something pretty cool as well, which is similarly to what I was saying before about how we want to be that one-stop shop place for clients to come into the clinic and we servicing them and letting you know about how we're servicing them and how we're taking care of them. Phone is just one way, but maybe you want to open up an avenue where your clients can text a number for the clinic, or your clients may want to interact with the clinic by a website chatbot that we can put in the website, which is exactly what I'm going to show you now here. This is our beautiful demo website for VetRec. And basically, if you take a look here, have a little chatbot that you probably are familiar with with websites in general. But it's actually the same virtual assistant from the phone, just in chat. You have very easy ways for you to do like booking appointments or requesting a refill, if that's like sort of the avenues that you want to go very fast. Or you can literally ask the same questions that we were asking before. It's like, what time does the clinic close today? And it'll go and it'll fetch the exact same data points that we were seeing there that the agent told us over the phone, but on text. And it's like, can you help me with scheduling a vaccine appointment? And it'll go and it'll follow the same instructions that we had on the phone, but now on the chat. Look at what it says. It asks for a rabies or bordetella. And that is exactly because, again, we had that settings configured there before. But here's what's cool. Let's say that the client is not really liking what the agent is saying, and you can say, can I talk to someone, please? This will now understand, okay, you don't want to talk to the AI. I am connecting you to the clinic team now. You can choose to leave a message, and then the conversation will be over, or you can like keep it on, and in the VetRec dashboard, look at what happens. Someone can log in and see a quick summary, letting them know that the client is awaiting for a response, understanding all the different messages that the client and the AI were actually doing, right? The back and forth, and come here and actually talk to the client. Hi, this is Kevin from the front desk team. It seems you need help with a vaccination appointment. How can I help? Oh my goodness, sorry, it's caps lock. Okay, whatever. You get the gist of it. If I go here, yeah, it never is gonna be like that, but you can see that it's now green. And now it's saying them, hey, you're chatting with the clinic team. Oh, hi, Kevin. Rabies one, please. I don't know, whatever. And now the AI will not respond because you are engaged with like the clinic team. And you can come back and you can see here the message, right? Yeah, rabies one, please. Great. We have availability at X, Y, Z, whatever. Then it'll go back here and you can see that. What's cool is that, let's say that the receptionist, helped here, but now they're busy because other people are coming in the front desk or whatnot. You can literally say something like, I'm transferring you back to the AI to help with the booking confirmation. And the minute you do that and you say return to AI, the clinic staff now handed this conversation back to the AI assistant. And the person here will go and see this and it'll say, okay, I'm free at 5 p.m. I don't know, just an example. Now the agent is actually responding. And the agent will have all the context that it had from talking to the client, plus what the human started talking to the client, and then just continue the conversation. And again, it can always go back to like transfer me to a human. Of course, that's never going to happen like back and forth like that, but you get the gist of it in terms of how we're servicing your clients, no matter where they're calling, no matter where they're coming, whether it's call, whether it's a website chatbot, we're enabling SMS in very short order, but a unified platform that can really service the clients and scale your front desk team basically infinitely by all these different avenues in which they can partake in talking to you guys in a much more, of course, efficient and ROI positive, right, capacity. So again, trying to build the whole experience for how we can help the veterinary teams with the medical records, but also the front desk and overall help the entire clinic as a whole. I feel I spoke a lot. So I'll take a pause here. Krista, I don't know how we're doing with like questions or time.
Kevin, it looks like you have a question from Sebastian.
Okay. Yeah, Sebastian. What do I do this? Hola, Kevin. Oh, Sebastian, hola. Sebastian here. We have another AI receptionist we launched 2 weeks ago, and this daily it has quite a bit of custom knowledge. Can VetRec pull the learnings from an existing receptionist to avoid having to recreate? There's ways, we've heard about this. There's ways to transfer the knowledge back. There's not a direct capability, right? Because it's not something that maybe other AI receptionists have built like that, but there's ways to sort of like we've seen convert the custom knowledge that you've had in like a PDF and literally just like dropping that into VetRec as a PDF And VetRec will actually go and understand that from like, okay, these are all the policies and different things that you need to know. So yes and no, Sebastian. I wish there was, of course, like a one-click thing, but I don't know if that would benefit a competitor if there's an easy way to transfer it, but there are ways to transfer that. So thanks for that question. I see here, David Conway, how are you? What is the approximate cost of adding this reception environment to our existing VetRec reception? Great question. So the VetRec receptionist is really priced at a per call volume. So the base fee is $500 a month, and that gets a clinic 1,000 interactions, right? Calls, the website chatbot. So 1,000 of them are included in those $500 a month. Every call or interaction afterward is priced at 65 cents per call per interaction. But of course, depending on the volume, we want to make sure that we do volume-based discounts. If there's lots and lots of calls that your clinic is having, we can decrease the per call volume on a case-by-case basis. But essentially, $500 a month for 1,000 interactions, calls, and then a call afterwards gets charged so that we can scale as well, given that we actually get charged by every call as well. So we need to make sure that we can build it sustainable. So hopefully that answers the question. But another question, and if it didn't answer the question, Sebastian or David, please feel free to respond again. As an emergency clinic, is the agent able to look up a client, and if they cannot find them in the system, ask to create a new account and then gather all the information and make a new client page? And yes, absolutely. Not only for like emergency clinics, like any type of clinics. I didn't demo this because I had it like for the demo purposes, just use my phone number, and my phone number is already an existing client. But the way that the agent works is the following: you call, it asks whether you've been seen here before or not, right? If it says no, then automatically it goes through the flow of creating a new client. If it says yes, it tries to find you in the system by that phone number, right? And so it probably can find you by that caller ID, by that phone number. If we cannot find you in the system, immediately the agent will go and say, sorry, we cannot find you. Let's create a new client for you, or let's say a new client record, a new patient record for you. Even it can also do, let's say that you're an existing client. In the case that I was there, it recognized my client, that I'm a client. It gave me all the different pets that I have, right? So Joey, Jimmy, and Floppy, those are my dogs. Great. And then it said, who's this for? I could have also said, actually, it's for a new patient, a new pet, a new dog that I have. And it would go and it would continue the process. It would not create a new client because the client is already in your database, if you will, but it would create a new patient chart, a new patient object, if you will, associated with my client. And the next time that I would call, it would have actually said, is this for Joey, Jimmy, Fluffy, or new patient that you created yesterday, right? Like all of that checking into the system and creating a new client is already built into the experience. I only demo like the existing client or flow, but because the new client just takes more time because it asks more questions. But happy to give you a one-on-one demo after this, and we can go through that process so that you can see it yourself. But absolutely, like that's already taken care of. Yeah. Good questions. Any other questions? Oh, there's another question here. Marcus Peterson, speaking of other AI receptionists, how does it compare to existing solutions? I love that question, and I always answer that question the same way that I've been answering the VetRec Scribe question for the past 3 years. And the answer is, you got to try it and you got to see for yourself. I can try to sell you on it for, an hour on like why we're the best, but ultimately I don't want to do that. I want to let the product speak for itself. We believe, of course, we're the best. We've had 3 years of past experience building on veterinary software, and we're also like vet exclusive as well. I'm not sure if there's other competitors that are veterinary exclusive or they have capabilities like we do, like with the Scribe. But in the end, I always say, try the product, and you'll see for yourself that the product will do all the talking. So, and then Randy, you asked another question. Second question, also thank you, of course. Can you turn the agent on or off when you have busier times of the day, or in the event we have someone calls out and would like to decrease the amount of calls? Great question. And in fact, I actually did not cover that before. The way this works is actually pretty cool. We integrate with the PIMs because, of course, we need to know some details about the clients, the scheduling, etc. But we don't even need to integrate with your phone system. So the way this happens is that we create a phone number for you. When we create a phone number and when you train the phone number with us, that is on. By default, that is always on. But unless someone calls that number, it won't do anything. It won't receive any calls. And so this phone number that we give you is just essentially like private for you and for us, right? And you don't even need to give your clients this phone number. In fact, we discourage you from doing that. What we want is for you to configure in your phone system whenever you want, after hours, 24/7, or when the receptionists are not picking up the phone because it rings more than 2 times. Whenever you actually want VetRec to answer the calls, you basically tell the phone system, hey, transfer calls to VetRec, or stop transferring calls to VetRec, or only transfer from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Hopefully that answers the question, Brandy. Feel free to ask again if not. But essentially, we give you the phone number that is always on, but it won't receive calls unless you tell it to receive calls by the phone system by transferring the actual calls to VetRec at the times that you want, 24/7, specific times. Let's say you do 24/7, but then you want to stop it, then you tell the phone system, stop transferring calls to VetRec and just transfer to your main line or whatever it is, right? Like you decide when you want the call to be transferred to VetRec so that it can be handled by VetRec. This is another way, of course, of also like ensuring maybe that you stay, let's say you have a budget. It's like, okay, I'm going to be able to, normally we receive 3,000 calls a month. 1,000 calls is $500 a month. And then based on the other per call volume, that's going to be another 500, 600 calls. I have a budget for $1,500 a month. Great. Then you can actually specify that so that, look, like that's the amount of calls that you would want us to handle. But then after you reach those calls, you stop forwarding the calls to VetRec, right? And then you just handle the way that you've been handling. And again, you were constrained by your budget, if you will. So long story short, you configure this whenever you want to transfer. It's on or off. You decide how you want to transfer the calls to the VetRec agent. Hopefully that answered the question. I did speak a lot, but Marcus, thanks for the question. So does the price include text messaging both for our CSRs and for the AI text? Text is not something that we do today. We are going to be building text messaging as well, and it's going to be built into the price. What we have today is the chatbot that I showed you there. And basically the pricing is chatbot or calls. That's what we call them, interactions, right? So if you have 1,000 calls, but 0 website chatbots, then it's just 1,000 interactions. If you have 500 calls and 500 interactions from the chatbot, then you essentially have 1,000 interactions, right? So that's what we call like interactions, which is basically either the phone call or the chat messaging that you will have. And sort of like, again, try to like estimate and plan for what the volume and what the volume of calls are ahead of time, so that you can sort of plan a budget and then estimate that based on the chatbot interaction that you think you're going to have. And again, we can always work with the clinics at the beginning, because we understand that phone calls is very easy to estimate, but maybe the chatbot's not. And so we can always like enable it for a week, the chatbot for free, so that you can see how many chatbot messages you get. And then from there, you're like, okay, actually I'm getting a lot of chatbots, which is really great because I'm converting appointments, or hey, I'm barely getting any chatbots. So, okay, you can plan what your costs essentially are going to be. We always want to make sure that we can always help with the budgets and the plans of like how much this is going to cost. But at the same time, we just need to protect ourselves in terms of the scale, because if you have 300,000 chatbots that are coming in and calls, and I only charge $500, then I'm going to be losing a lot of money on that particular interaction, right? It's just a way to protect us as you scale. We also have a sister hospital. Does that mean we have one number for both, or two for VetRec accounts, or two VetRec accounts? Great question. And in fact, if you have multiple networks of hospitals, this actually works really well. So you get a phone number per hospital. And so the limits and the amount of calls that you can get is like per hospital. Of course, if you have multiple hospitals, we can always do like discount-based volumes. Like I said, not only per call, but we maybe reduce the price of the base fee if you have multiple hospitals that you're bringing into VetRec. But essentially, you have a number, and in the dashboard that I showed you, per hospital, so that you can configure if, for example, your hospital A is closed on Wednesdays, but your hospital B is open on Wednesdays. You have different routes. You have different phone number routes that you can configure in the dashboard, so that for each particular hospital, you have specific trainings. What's cool, though, is if you guys are part of a network, we can let the agent know, and again, this is part of the onboarding, where we basically tell the agent that, for example, we tell the agent of hospital A that hospital B is part of the sister network. And so if someone, for example, requests to book an appointment on Wednesday at 2 p.m. and hospital A is busy, but hospital B is in a 5-mile radius location, has availability, we'll actually tell them, by the way, we don't have availability, but your hospital B, whatever, which is 5 miles located here, has availability. Do you want us to get those appointments booked for you there? Sort of like, again, converting your clients to keep them within your network if that's what you would want to do in terms of sort of like load balancing the clients across your across the different hospitals that you have. In addition to that as well, like, if someone calls agent of hospital A and they ask a question about hospital B, it will be able to answer because, again, you guys are all sharing the same context of the different AIs that are part of the same network. Of course, if you call hospital A and someone asks about a completely different company, it will not answer that because it's not part of the same network, right? So hopefully that answers the question, Marcus. Great questions, guys, honestly. Thanks. Anything else? Any other comments? Any other questions? We'll reach out after the webinar, just sort of like a recap, recording, summary of everything that we discussed here, sort of a link to my calendar if you guys are interested in just doing a one-on-one and trying to get it test and on board to your particular hospital. Happy to do that as soon as this week or next week, whenever you guys want. We'll be sending those communications later. Katie, how long would it take me to set this up from start to finish? Great question. Honestly, you can go live in a day. So we will go and have a meeting with you, first of all, of course, set up the phone route, set up the dashboard for you, which takes 10 minutes. Then depending on the integration that you require, for example, EasyVet, we can do it the same day. Avamar, Cornerstone, Impromed, that takes 1 extra day. Vetspire, Instinct, other ones that are like cloud-based, we can do it literally the same day. And then you'll be able to literally set up in 1 or 2 days. And then either you do a little bit of that configuration of the training, which can take from minutes to hours, depending on how much you want to give it, or you chat with us in terms of, hey, I need some help from the configuration side of the house. But truly, the end-to-end would not be more than a day or 2 if you're committed, of course, to setting this up, right? If you're committed to setting this up, in a day or 2, you're live. So. Yeah. Good question. Anything else? Any other questions from anyone? Hopefully I answered all the questions from Marcus, Brandy, David, Sebastian. But thank you. Appreciate everyone.